Welcome to another episode of Roll Call TTSH Nursing's very own podcast brought to you by TTSH Nursing Organisation Development. I'm Kim, and I'm your host once again, as always, for today. This episode, we are extremely honoured to have one of this year's President's Award for Nurses winners, Dr. Chan Yuee, here with us. Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Chan!
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Okay, so let me introduce Dr. Chan to all of you. Dr. Chan is a pioneer nursing researcher in Singapore and is the head of TTSH Nursing's Implementation, Translation and Research Office, or Nitro for short. And is also an adjunct assistant professor at the NUS Alice Lee Centre for Nursing Studies. She has also published and presented widely and has been awarded numerous research scholarships, major grants and awards. And she also serves as a grant and journal reviewer, as well as a scientific and ethics representative. So her interests are mostly in aging and caregiver research, health activation, and healthcare digitalization as well, and hopes that her research can be translated to practice to improve the lives of patients and their caregivers. She's also an active advocate for better support and empowerment of family caregivers, especially of older persons. So before we get into all the questions that we have for her, we just wanted to say a massive congratulations for winning this year's President's Award for Nurses.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, everybody.
So if you didn't know what the President's Award for Nurses is, it's a national award given in recognition for outstanding performances and significant contributions that nurses make to the profession and community. And usually 3 to 5 winners are awarded every year. So Dr. Yuee, how do you feel about receiving the award?
Firstly, don't call me doctor. Just call Yuee, okay? Yeah.
I will try, but I'm pretty sure throughout the interview I will forget, but okay I will try.
I'll remind you. Okay. So really, how I feel. Firstly, I was flooded with a huge surprise because I never thought that I would be one of the nominees for the award. And then when the truth finally sunk in that we won the award, I was felt with a deep sense of gratefulness and also felt extremely privileged to be the one receiving this award on behalf of all the nursing communities who is actually doing research and driving evidence-based initiative. So I want to use this platform today to also thank my team members, my leaders, all the nurses who have contributed in one way or another, and most importantly, the study participants who have actually believed in us and who have given us time and effort to talk to us. And through their voices, we are able to bring it forward to make life a bit better for themselves.
So moving on to our second question, being where you are today, what has been the most important leadership lesson that you have gained through the process?
There are many, many lessons that I've gained, but I believe the most important for myself is always start with why we are doing certain things. Yeah. The meaningful why will be what will anchor you through your ups and downs. So through the whole effort of starting on a work, when you start with why, it will lead you to the how of doing certain things and subsequently the what. And the important meaningful why will also help you to remember that when you actually face failure, you try to bounce off your failure to learn from it so that you persevere on to achieve the whys that you have set out to do.
So being the head of TTSH Nursing's Implementation, Translation and Research Office, or we mentioned earlier Nitro for short, could you share with us more about the work that Nitro does?
Yes, Nitro does many things. One of the things that Nitro does is actually to drive research culture. For that to work, we actually partner nurses to conduct research. We also conduct this Curious Cat Consult. I hope by now everybody have heard about Curious Cat Consult. So nurses can approach us via this consult to get support, to conduct their own research, to start with a research question, to also even for nitty beginning things like how to even start a research process of doing up their ethics or CITI. So do approach us for anything via the Curious Cat Consult. It's open every single Thursday. Drop in.
Okay, so how does Nitro support nursing, and provide value to nurses' work? I think whatever you shared just now kind of links to this question as well.
Aside from what I've shared with you about us partnering nurses to actually conduct their own research, we are also actively right now developing materials so that we can actually groom and develop more and more nurses to become knowers and doers of evidence-based practices. We want to inculcate a culture where nurses can actually use evidence in their day-to-day work to inform their decision-making so that it can lead to better patient practices at the ground. Aside from this, we are also actively identifying nurses who are keen to embark on this hybrid clinician scientist track so that we start to incubate and groom them even from the young.
Okay. What are some core values that guide Nitro's work?
Nitro often, like the name Nitro, nitrogen, what does it tell you? Power.
Yes.
So what we want to strive for is really nursing excellence.
Yep.
Nursing excellence through conducting rigorous research so that the evidence that we actually curate out are based on strong research insights.
Yep.
And aside from that, another core value that we have is actually we want to inculcate team spirit, a spirit where aside from fostering teamwork, we want to partner interdisciplinary work because we believe that when we are partnering outside of nursing, we can develop ourselves even better and cross-learn and cross-share. Aside from that, another core value that we hold very dearly is that we want to spark curiosity.
Yep.
We believe that if the nurses are curious, they start to be inquisitive and ask questions, how can I improve the way that nurses are doing things? It will actually spark research questions, it will lead to innovation work, and somehow through this, they can actually conduct research or conduct projects so that nursing work can actually improve.
Hence, curious cats.
Yes, that's right.
And sorry, random side question. Who came up with the name Nitro? I always tell people that Nitro is such a smart name and acronym, and like is it you?
The team. No, the team. So we often actually brainstorm things like words, right? So previously we call ourselves Nursing Research Department. Then we thought with time we should have something a bit more powerful, or what in another nurse term, powderful. What is powderful for us, right? So we wanted something that can resonate. Then it must also be relatable, and every single letter in Nitro must mean something that is meaningful for our department. So we brainstormed on many names, and it took us quite some time before the team, by consensus, decide that Nitro would be something that will relate to us, represent us, and easy to remember. So we hope that when you remember Nitro, you remember us, and you remember research and evidence-based, and you do join force with us, because one Nitro is not going to work. We need all the nurses to come on board, because research or evidence-based culture development is not just Nitro's tai chi, it's every nurse tai chi if we really want to build a strong research culture.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing so in-depthly about Nitro. I really learned a lot, and I think especially after the word Nitro change, I've seen a lot of how Nitro's projects and everything has translated into clinical practice, especially because I'm in the ward as well. So thank you so much for giving us a very good insight into what Nitro does. So moving on from Nitro, I think we want to deep dive, not really moving on, but kind of to really dive into one of the projects that you guys are spearheading. So just to give some context, so a previous study actually conducted by TTSH nurse researchers found that family caregivers bear the brunt of responsibilities to deliver long-term care for their loved ones. And this is a very key factor that facilitates aging in place for our community. So a vast majority of these caregivers actually reported that they spend most of their waking hours doing or thinking about caregiver-related activities. So while there is a growing recognition of caregiving stress and caregiver needs, accessibility to these support structures remains a challenge, and proactive outreach to caregivers is definitely something that is very critically needed. Yeah, so because of that, TTSH Nursing started a program called Caram, which is led by Yuee.
Oh. I was meant to do this.
And Caram is a program that offers a caregiver-centric approach to meet the unique and dynamic needs of caregivers, especially during their adjustment from hospital to home. Yeah, while promoting both their well-being and the ability for them to thrive at home. Yes, so could you tell us more about Caram and how the idea of this program was actually birthed and conceptualized?
So maybe I start with how it got started. It got started because during my father's last stage of his life, my dad was stricken with cancer. So in the last stage of his life, I was the primary caregiver for him. And during that period, I found that even though I'm trained as a nurse, I really couldn't really, how do I say, thrive well in that role. So there's a lot of time when I was very overwhelmed with my own emotion, with the ability or rather inability to properly care for him the way that I would want, to actually ask for help and to self-help. So I find that during that time I was really very, very lonely and was very cooped up, and I struggled a lot. So with that whole experience behind me, then it's got me thinking about other caregivers like myself. Then I thought, if I'm trained as a nurse with so many years of experience and I can't even cope taking care of somebody I love very much, how much worse will it be for other caregivers? Sorry about it.
It's okay.
So it got started for us to think about, how are other caregivers at Nursing Hospital doing? Are they coping as worse as we think they are? Or are they doing quite okay? So what we did was then, at that point, we actually conducted a study to find out how are they doing. And our study found that as many as 1 in 3 of them are suffering from rate of depression. They are also highly anxious. And many of them verbalize that they are not coping well and hope more can be done. So that then sparked us to start thinking of how we can better help them. And it led to Project Caram. So Project Caram started with us wanting this to be a nurse-led holistic hospital-to-home initiative, where although we want to look at equipping caregivers with better knowledge and skills to care for their loved ones, we wanted it to be holistic in the sense that the caregiver is also part of our care. Meaning we want to move away from a care model where it's just patient-centric towards one that embodied the patient and the caregivers as one. So that we also provide for the caregivers in addition to providing for the patient. So Caram Matters, to add on, it actually requires us to partner the caregivers to first identify who they are, then find out what are their needs. Subsequently, based on their need, we will provide tailored intervention accordingly. So for those who are at very high risk, then we actually siphon them to receive a tele-support program delivered by our caregiver support nurses. And then subsequently, for those who are also needing a bit more social support, we also link them with community partners out there so they can have ongoing social support after they have left the hospital's door, so that they can continue to thrive, to care for their loved ones, even in the community setting. So kudos, to my 3 caregiver support nurses. They are actually our own Tan Tock Seng nurses who believe in the cause and came on board during the pilot period. Devon, Shuling and Aisha, kudos to all of you for believing in us and for believing that this project is meaningful. Then they came on board. They are actually our own RNs who have experience caring for older people and have experience managing caregivers who are stressed.
Wow. I mean, as someone, the reason why I actually joined nursing, was because my grandfather, when his last few years as well, he was suffering with very advanced dementia. So seeing how, my mom, my aunt, my entire family had to step up and take over, and even though the family support was so strong, there is still definitely caregiver stress and burnout. So having a program like that, and not just as a nurse, but as someone who was a caregiver also, it's just very, very nice to see how, we're stepping and moving beyond just doing our nursing duties in the hospital and going, looking at everything so holistically.
I think that's really important, because oftentimes while we focus on the patient, we forgot that there's somebody else who is supporting our patients, especially after they have left the hospital door. And these are the caregivers, the invisible patient. If we don't take care of them, they too someday soon will turn into our future patients. So we really have to take care of the pair.
So how has the response been for the program? Because the program has been around for quite a number of years already. How has it been from the caregivers as well as, maybe even the healthcare professionals involved in the process?
So during the COVID period, we kickstarted the project. Not sure whether it's a good time or bad, but it was a needed time because during the COVID period, caregivers were all cooped up at home with their care recipients because everywhere was shut. All those community activity centers were all shut, and then they were all extremely stressed. So when we kickstarted this program, it was an opportune time to reach out to them. And then throughout the COVID period, even when the older folks get admitted to the hospital, caregivers also verbalize that they suffer from a lot of burnout and stress, dealing with the unknown COVID, and then also needing to come to hospital to care for their loved ones. So that has been really very challenging for them. The response has been rather promising, thankfully, especially so during the pilot period, which occurred during the COVID period. So throughout the whole pilot period, which ranged around 2 to 3 years, we had already benefited more than 700 caregivers in various ways. And during the COVID period, the first 1 year plus, more than 200 caregivers actually signed up for the training program. And those who signed up for the program reported that as many as 97% of them reported that their knowledge of the disease improved. They reported that they're satisfied with the training. Aside from the knowledge gain, they also felt that their skills has improved and they are better able to cope, and they actually gain higher mastery to be confident in caring for their loved ones. Personally, for us, we felt that this was very important and critical because oftentimes, aside from caring for their loved ones, the caregivers forget to care for themselves. So during this particular initiative, when we ran, we keep on reminding the caregivers that, hey, while you care for your loved ones, don't forget to care for yourself as well. Remember the oxygen analogy. Whenever you take the plane, then they will remind you before you can care for someone else, wear the oxygen mask yourself, right? So we keep on having to remind them because it's truly extremely easy when you care for someone that you love very much to be so entangled in the caregiving role that your sense of identity or sense of self is totally lost. And then you forget all about your own need, and then you put your family's need really front and center. That is something that we actually wanted to avoid. As per your other question, when you asked about how had it been for the other healthcare professionals? So of course, in the beginning, while many actually felt that this was a meaningful initiative that nursing has started, many also were fearful that it will add on to our work. We all know that nurses are really so busy, so how can we do even more? And right now, the care system is one where it's a lot more focusing on the need of the patient. So when we are caring for a patient, we are already so busy. How can we even care for one more person? How do you plus one? So what we are trying to do is, because you see that there's meaning to it, how can we right now integrate what we have started in the pilot to look at certain component that is more doable, integrate it with the current service, like the current BAU, so that nurses can do that little bit of extra without it being too burdensome. And we are also working with different parties to actually look at how we can eliminate some of the work that may not be so needful for nursing, so that the nurses can do what is truly important. And then at this point, I also want to thank the Caram Matter Service team for taking over from our pilot. And right now, they are the one who is making the project a lot more successful and integrating it into the current BAU. So really thank you to every one of them. Although we started it, right now they are the one who is championing it and continuing to lead this and benefiting patients and caregivers. So kudos to them.
I love how almost after every single question you say thank you to other people.
No, because our work cannot happen alone.
Of course.
And nursing is all about teamwork. It can't be just one person or one department making the work like carry it forward. You may be able to spark something, but you certainly cannot carry it from start to finish. It really, really need the whole kampong. So thank you, kampong nursing, Tan Tok Sing. Okay, I must be the most crazy person you have interviewed. Okay, cut that part.
no. Don't need to cut. Okay, so just now, you mentioned that, when you guys were trying to implement and push out the program, that a lot of nurses were very fearful because they added onto their wallet. And I remember that feeling, honestly, because I joined in 2020, which was the peak of COVID, right? So I remember I was still very new, trying to balance everything. And they have all the posters, Caram metal stuff. Like, oh, got this other extra payment or learn and all that, right? So, what other, or were there any other difficulties that you guys encountered during the implementation of this program, other than what we mentioned just now?
Yeah, so actually you're right, some nurses were a bit apprehensive. So what we tried to do was that not to start everything with a big bang. We started a pilot where we actually just start in 2 wards, subsequently scale it to 4 wards, 8 wards, so that it's progressively, going further and further and spreading. And it's not like a big bang where everybody suddenly become a lot more busier. So we try to learn from the small pilot so that the things is not really going to take up way too much of nurses' time. We try to see what is doable and what is less so to do that. So other challenges that we face is that oftentimes, both from the nurse's perspective as well as from the caregiver's perspective, is that the notion of helping caregivers to self-care. So nurses oftentimes, if we ask nurses like ourselves to develop a care plan for patients, it's quite easy because that's what we learn in nursing school. But it's very rare to have nursing school having taught us how to care for the caregivers. So it's quite an alien notion to do that. So nurses then had to extend beyond and try to partner Carameters, these carer support nurses, to actually move towards this. So right now we are still not in a big bang yet, although the Carameter service team is trying to roll it out. So yeah, it's how to put it, changes like this, because in some way I would want to call it a mindset change. In some way it's also a mental model transformation where the mind need to transform from looking after one person to a care model that we right now need to focus on 1 plus 1 more or even more, right? That mindset change need to happen. It can't happen just within a day. So things like education, coaching, informing, highlighting why we are doing that is important. So informing the nurses why this is needed, why this is important, I think must be an ongoing thing so that everybody buys in with the reason why we're doing this extra bit. So it's not like we're just asking people to do the extra work based on just because we want them to do more things. No, there's a reason behind the work that we are asking them to do.
Okay, so moving on from the program, looking at your very intense and many years of being in nursing, what has been the most special or unforgettable part of your nursing journey so far?
Nursing journey, there have been many. Maybe I share one when I was a young nurse and one when I'm now an older nurse. Okay, as a young nurse, one very unforgettable moment was when one of the patients who I had cared for in the ward, he has leprosy. And during those days, people with leprosy were shunned. So we often visited them when they went home. So when we visited him towards the end of his life, he actually wanted to give me half of his fortune, half of it. It was $50 in those days, but it meant a lot to him. So to me, it was something that I've always treasured because not because of the money, but because he really treated me as though I'm his family. To be able to be given such a big amount. Of course, I didn't accept it, but it was something that still stay with me until today. And the other incident that perhaps I can share is that as an older person right now, an older nurse, and right now given that I'm in my research role, what kept me going and very encouraged was that there was this day where I went to our IGA clinic and I bumped into this 30-plus young man who was wheeling her mother in for a consult, right, for another TCU. So I didn't see him because I was walking as usual very fast to try to catch someone. Then he called me and then tapped on me, and then we chatted for a while. And then I saw how much he has transformed, because when I first interviewed him as a research participant, as a caregiver, he was extremely stressed and sharing that he felt so stressed that sometimes he even harbored thoughts of jumping out from his 12th level where he lived, because he was so entrapped in the caregiving role. He felt that he has lost himself, he can't go to work, his world just evolved around the mother. But when I saw him next at that point, I felt that he has in some way benefited from our program, because he has learned to better cope. He has learned to also use respite care, like daycare, all those where he can actually help to offload, right? Use all these services to offload some of the care needs of his mother. And then he's also able to embark on part-time work and to find a little time for himself, to see really how our work, to really literally see how our work has led to a difference in someone's life, to me was extremely impactful. So both the earlier story that I shared and this story was really something that kept me going, be it, you know, as a nurse who's providing direct care or as a nurse who's doing research, to tell us that regardless of whatever work that you're doing, end of the day, as long as it's impactful work and as long as there's meaning to your work, then it should remind you about why you joined nursing and should keep you in nursing, because it's truly a profession that could offer you the opportunity to make a difference in someone's life.
Definitely. You know, like all these years, right? Like even from when I was a nursing student, I think I've just known you as Dr. Chan, but I mean Yuee, sorry. But I think really being able to hear, you know, all these stories from when you were a young nurse and like, you know, what inspired you to embark on all these projects and everything, and really finding out more about you as Yuee, the nerd, Yuee, the human, Yuee, the nurse. Like, it has been very, very inspiring, and I'm sure that it has inspired and will continue to inspire many nurses as well. So actually, our last question, I feel, perfectly ties in with this, and it's how many nurses nowadays actually aspire to develop their research skills while also remaining competent in providing care for patients. So, you know, in Tan Tock Seng, I think you mentioned earlier this thing called hybrid nursing. You know, I think many people, and I myself have heard that many people are interested in doing. And you know, like clinical will affect research, research will affect clinical. So being able to see, like what you mentioned earlier, how your work in both can simultaneously affect each other and link together. So what advice will you give to nurses who wish to embark on a nursing journey like this and eventually become like you one day?
For me, you don't have to become like me, but I'm all for nurses who wants to come and join us. So do come and join us. You can come and join us, be it participate in our research, or be it if you are truly passionate about this and have the capability, do come and join us and be partners with us on this track that we call hybrid clinician scientist. We have this particular framework where we will start to see where you fit. It actually divides into 4 different parts, where in the first part we start to help you to develop skills to lead yourself. Then when you are done and competent in that, then you will learn how to lead yourself as a researcher and be independent and to be an advocate. Subsequently, when you're able to lead yourself independently and well, then we move you onwards to lead teams. And when you're able to do that well, then we'll groom you towards leading organizations. So while you embark on a research career where we hope you can have the exciting flavor of not just doing one thing where you excel in clinical care, but you do more than one thing, which is aside from clinical care, you also try to push and advance nursing science in your clinical area of expertise. And when doing that, we are committed to actually groom you step by step, like what I've articulated, towards leadership, opportunity for growth as well. Because over here at Tan Tock Seng Hospital, we are truly inspired by the young. We believe in the notion that for the future of nursing, we must start putting in effort, resources, and time to groom the young. Not tomorrow, but really today. I also want to end on this note by saying that I really hope I won't be the last. I really want to use this as an effort to encourage many, many more nurses, be it at Tan Tock Seng Hospital or beyond, to embark on this exciting research journey together with us, so that we can actually lead to scale greater heights for nursing excellence. I'm also looking forward to the day that I'm going to chair my next nurse who will be awarded with the President Award, who also is actively embarking on research. So with that, research and empathy, onwards nursing excellence. Go, go, go!
And on that note, thank you so much, Yuee, for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
No, it's my honor, really, really. And that concludes this episode of Roll Call. Remember, you can also check our podcast out on Spotify at Nurses of TTSH. Do give our channel a follow, hit the bell to get notifications whenever a new episode is posted. This episode is special because it's going to be the only one in August, okay? So the next one will be out in September. For more updates and opportunities to contribute, also follow us on Instagram at TikTok at Nurses of TTSH. And I completely forgot to say that you should like and comment and share this video as well. And if you have any topic suggestions, or if there's anyone you'd like us to feature or be a part of the team doing these podcasts, please feel free to DM us as well. And we will catch you in the next roll call. Bye-bye!
Bye-bye! And check out Nitro's website too! Bye!